And we are live. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to a very special edition of the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your podcaster and your host for this evening. With me tonight, I have a guy, man, this guy fishes the same places I used to fish since I was a boy. I just love the areas this guy fished. I love the places he fished. I love the fish he fishes for. Man, I miss the fishing in Illinois. I miss the fishing in Illinois. People don't think of fishing when they think about Illinois, but man, I'm telling you, Ken's going to tell you differently. That how are you doing tonight, Ken O'Malley?
Hey Jay, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Guys, it sounds like we have a little lag here tonight, so just be patient with us. I have storms coming through. I live in southern Louisiana. Just the way things are around here, but man, this is fun. Anyways, we're back. Man, Ken, so you've been fishing the Kankakee River.
Yeah, you know what?
And catching some smallmouth. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yeah, we're in the dog days of August right now, Jay. So, water temps, we're in another heat wave right now. Water temps are going back up again. So, you know what? Leave the boat in the garage for a while, put on the waders, and hit the river for some smallies. You can't beat it.
I grew up fishing smallmouth bass streams like the Kankakee, not the Kank, like the Kishwaukee River, around Belvedere's, Cherry Valley, the Rock River. Then went later on the Fox River, and I even have fished the Kankakee River before, like around Moments.
Yeah. Yeah, all through, good areas, even through, the state park. There's a ton of places to fish. You can get away from the crowd, kind of be one right with nature. You can't beat, when you're waiting, it's a lot different, feel than, when you're on the boat and you're fishing. You're kind of one with everything. And, the nice thing about it, you can do a lot of scouting, whether it's high water or low water, you can find a lot of new spots as well as you're fishing along, and that spots. Hey, I never knew that was there, especially during low water times. That's the best time to scout because you can find new places, those humps that are hidden, that are exposed now. Clear water right now. The Kankakee is gin clear right now, so it's a great time to get out there and fish, scout, and top water bites going right now. Early, first light, throwing a popper is a great choice. And then once that, that bite dies off, I've been throwing, a TRD, a Tickle Z by Z-Man. So it's kind of a unique bait that, it's a little different than your standard TRD, like the Little General by Berkeley. It's got little tentacles on the end of it. So it's kind of a hybrid tube bait. So as you're hopping it off the bottom, basically, hey, this is what it's doing, so it looks like a crawfish, and that's what they're eating. Funny thing, over the weekend, Saturday, I was fishing. The first smallmouth I caught, I knew exactly I had the right bait, because guess what? It was sticking out of his underside. It was a craw, which I have never seen a fish do that, where it literally was sticking out of his backside. And I'm like, wow, at least I know I'm on the right bait.
Usually you find claws in your live well.
Yep. Yeah.
Like when you're fishing a tournament and you put your fish in the live well and you look in there and you're like, what's all this? I just cleaned this thing. Okay. Those are claws.
Yep.
These bass have been eating crawfish. Now I know what I want to use. Yes. That you just took me back to my childhood, man. Wading down the Kankakee, with a pocket full of jigs and one fishing rod. Things were just not complicated back then.
Well, you know what? It doesn't have to be today either. We got all that tackle, rods and reels. Simplify it, okay? Don't overthink it.
I hate to say I don't need 25 rods because I'm sitting here looking at 25 rods, and that's not all that I own. But
Yeah.
But
I'm not just in case if my wife is listening to this or going to eventually see it, I'm not going to even say how many rods I've got and reels. She
don't
actually knows that
don't.
answer anyways, but I'd rather not publicize it.
We have the first comment from the audience. It's Roy Widgeon from USA Kayak Fishing Magazine. He just said, "Hello, Ken." He just wanted to say hi to you, man.
How's it
He's a
going
kayak
tonight?
fisherman. So that's Roy Widgeon from USA Kayak Fishing Magazine. What a great guy.
Yeah,
He's
I
a
love
great
fishing out
supporter
of
of
my
the show.
kayak too, man. We talking about kayaks. I use my kayak a lot to fish the strip pits. Where you don't have access to get the boat in. That's a great
Like out there by
area to
Braidwood?
go and fish.
Yeah. So, and Roy said, so forward facing sonar on my kayak might be overkill.
Yeah, just a little.
I'm not going to go there, Roy. I'm just not going to go there.
Yeah, we can have that discussion.
But getting back to my roots,
of this program.
No, I'm just not going to go there. But thank you, Roy. But getting back to my roots, one fishing rod, a pocket full of jigs. In my other pocket, I had soft plastics. And, I caught smallmouth bass.
Yep.
Every time I went in the summertime. You get a really hot spell, just go there, old pair of tennis shoes, shorts, and just jump in the water and just start walking downstream.
Yeah, there you go.
How much fun is that?
Yeah.
Eric Evans.
A lot of the bass that I'm catching still have full crawdads in their mouth.
Eric, we have another comment from the audience. It's Eric Evans from iBass 360. He said many years ago he lived near the Des Plaines River in Oak Park, Illinois. We know where that is, don't we?
Yep, sure do. I fish the Des Plaines River a lot.
He said, "Is it any good for river wading?" Man, there are northern pike in the Des Plaines River. There are smallmouth bass in the Des Plaines River, and you tell me what else is in there, Ken.
We got some walleye in there, largemouth, smallmouth, like you said, pike. Caught a few sauger actually, and there's plenty of gars, a lot of rough fish, obviously. There's crappie, bluegill, you name it. It's a multi-species fishery that is great, and the area that I fish a lot is down, around I-55. So it's basically the four rivers that are down there, where the Des Plaines, the Kankakee dumps into it. You've got the DuPage
which makes
River,
the Illinois River. Yes.
Yeah, it eventually forms the Illinois River. You got a lot of backwater areas, a lot of industry in there, a lot of discharges as well. So it's a great area to fish at.
Yeah, that is. Man, I have a lot of fond memories of fishing the Illinois River, but I want to talk about smallmouth bass here. Yeah. And okay, where do you think the best potential for catching a large smallmouth bass in your area that you fish this time of year is?
Oh, I would say right now, focus on the Kankakee. The Fox has got quality smallmouth in there as well. Heideke, obviously, which we'll talk about, has a lot of good quality smallmouth there as well. So I would start there if you're looking for some it's a numbers game right now as far as looking for that trophy fish. Give it time, because the fall is vastly approaching. Those water temps are going to start going down, because remember, right now our water temps are in the upper 70s to almost 80 degrees. Give it time, especially with the heat wave that we just had. Yesterday it was 117 degrees.
105. Jeez, that sounds like southern Louisiana, man. I was putting up with that all week long when I was working.
It was hot yesterday. So those water temps aren't going anywhere just yet. Yep. But give it time.
I gotta ask.
They go down, it's game on.
I'm going to get off subject here for 2 minutes. Tell us where Husker Outdoors came from.
Well, my nickname is Husker. I've had that nickname for an extremely long time. A lot of people know me by that. versus my actual real name. And it stems from the love of Nebraska football. I am a huge Nebraska fan to the point where I'm excessive about it. I obsess over it, especially Nebraska football. I love all the sports there. And I figured, hey, you know what? Everybody kind of knows me by that nickname. So why mess with it? Let's just tack on outdoors to it. Simple. Done. Easy.
Done.
Easy.
Okay, I like it. And so my buddy Eric, when he wrote that up, he was spot on.
He was spot on without doubt.
That is cool. Okay, now back to smallmouth bass. Yes, actually, just to talk about smallmouths, this time of the year. Okay, Eric actually says let's cool off. iBass 360 has a lot of ice anglers. What's new from Clam for the upcoming season? What are you excited about?
Oh, I love that question. There's they got a new line of plastics coming out that are going to be fabulous on the ice. They've got some heaters they've come out with too for the season, some new shelters. We won't talk much about it, but they actually have for forward-facing sonar on the ice. They actually have a bracket for that as well. But I think probably the single thing that I'm most excited about is the new plastics, the new lineup. The plastics are going to be hot. I can't, I've got my hands on them, and I'm ready to actually rock and roll with them now because I use a lot of ice plastics during open water as well too, especially for bluegill. And when the crappie bite gets a little finicky, I like to downsize. And guess what? I'm using ice plastics.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's what I always say. When the going gets tough, the tough simplify.
Yep. This is what I've been using all summer for bluegill. A 3mm ice jig by Wiggle Your Worm. It's a Wonder Swirl, they call it. So it's kind of like, it looks like a tie-dye. Okay. And with a whack 'em and stack 'em little 2.5 split tail.
Yes.
And it's been actually knocking them dead all summer long for those bluegill.
See, that's what I like about you, Ken. You are like me. You're a multi-species angler. You can do it all. In fact, you have one thing I don't have, which is ice fishing. I was a deer hunter, and during the 2 months between walleye fishing and deer hunting, I hibernated.
There you go. Yeah,
I had to.
I don't mind you guys. I mean, granted, I bow hunt, when I have time. But I love when the fall comes because we have football. The waters are, everybody's, going out into their stands and hunting.
Uh-oh.
Got basically,
lost Ken.
Oh.
We just lost Ken, guys. But that's cool. He'll be back. There he is. Look at that, man. We can't get rid of you if we try.
No. Nice
we can't get rid of you if we try, man. We tried and it didn't work. It just didn't work, man. Just did not work.
No,
but man. So
that's what I love about fall, man. Is the waters, they're not crowded. You have everything to yourself because the pleasure boaters are all gone for the season. Guys in their deer stands, and you know what? The diehards they'll fish year round. It's paradise right now.
Yes, but one thing I liked about fall is the smallmouth bass put the feed bag on.
You betcha they do. And they're starting to already do it because they're starting to get little bellies to them. They're filling up with craws, and it's just going to keep on going.
But by the time October comes around, in those small streams where we were catching these all summer, now we're catching these.
Yep.
And even in the Illinois River, when a lot of man, I'd have to tell you, I love saugers. I targeted them. I bought a boat for them so I could compete with. But there's good smallmouth bass fishing around Starved Rock all the way down the Hennepin.
Yep.
You have to know where to target them. There's a couple of key places, and I would go and hit them all. Usually catch a couple of them. Sometimes catch some 3.5, 4 pounders.
Yeah.
That was few and far between, but I was happy if I caught 2 pounders.
Yeah. The area where the Fox joins up. Dynamite.
Yes.
Dynamite. That is where you're going to catch big smallmouth in that system.
all the way up to Dayton.
Yeah.
From the confluence of the Fox River, the Illinois, all the way up to Dayton was good smallmouth bass fishing.
Yeah. And what's going to be a good bait come fall, when they, switch off from, the craw bite to minnows, just like in the springtime, is going to be basically this right here, a jerk bait.
Jerk bait. I love that color. Is that pearl?
This is a Berkeley Stunna 112, and it's got a little purple in it, a little hue to it.
Ooh, purple.
See a little bit there. So
man,
it's got a matte finish
to
it.
Can you even throw that in the Fox without catching muskies?
You can try, but if you want the bait coming back, you may want to. I'll think about that.
Yeah. We have another question from the audience. It's from Eric Evans from iBass 360. He said, has the smallmouth fishing improved on Lake Michigan in the city as it has in the other Great Lakes?
So what's the question there? Has
it improved on Lake Michigan in the city?
Oh, yeah,
as it has.
Absolutely. Yes, all the way, from the Chicago shoreline and the harbors, all the way to the Indiana side. You know what? I think everybody's just waiting that, your next record smallmouth is going to come out of there for both Indiana and Illinois. If it hasn't, Indiana it have, but again, Illinois, it's there. It's there.
I mean, look what the gobies, what they've done to the fishing in the Great Lakes. A 10-pound smallmouth in Lake Erie. It's coming to the rest of the Great Lakes because the gobies are there.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly what the smallmouth are feeding on, and it's a lot of protein, and that's where they're getting their size, and they're growing a lot quicker because of those things. Yeah, I know it's an invasive species, but it's done a lot to the fishery as well, especially when it comes to smallmouth.
Just like everybody thought when the zebra mussels got in there, it's the end of Western civilization as we know it.
Yeah, everything adapts.
Look what it did to Lake St. Clair.
Yeah.
I have fished Lake St. Clair because I was stationed at Selfridge Air National Guard Base in I'm not going to date myself here, but
oh, sure you can. Come on, everybody wants to know.
In 1988, I was there. But that's back.
I graduated high school that year.
I graduated in 86, so yeah, we're going.
We're not that far off, though.
Vince just said, Ken is the man. The state record smallie came from the lakefront downtown a few years back.
Oh, good to know, Vince. I thought it was still in the strip pit downstate.
Okay. Thank you for telling us that, Vince. I appreciate that. I hope Eric's still on and he heard that, It also wasn't the 2000 Bassmaster Classic that was held on the lakefront?
Yeah, I remember that. That was really cool, and I wish they'd actually bring something like that back.
That was exciting,
Yeah.
That was exciting. I mean, all those boys came there, and they were all going up and down the Chicago River.
Yep.
I was writing for the Daily Chronicle back then and writing for Midwest Outdoors. I went down there to watch. It was just exciting. Thumpum Small Soft Plastics just logged on. He said evening. He's from Michigan, so he knows a little bit about smallmouth bass. A lot of smallmouth
I'm sure
bass.
He does.
A lot of smallmouth bass in Michigan. So, can we agree that the greatest potential for a trophy smallmouth bass in Illinois is on the Chicago lakefront?
Yep, I think everybody could probably agree with that one.
I would agree with that too. Now, what about Heideke Lake for trophy smallmouth bass?
Well, that there's good numbers at Heideke. You can easily catch 60 to 75, fish a day. Even though it's not a cooling lake anymore, kind of treat it as that. If you're going out there, watch the winds a couple days prior, because that's the areas you want to hit first, is the shorelines that the wind has been blowing on, because it's drawn in those bait fish. So those we're going to get stacked up. And again, like one of the baits that I've been catching a lot of fish, not just smallmouth, but you know, walleye, hybrids, largemouth, a few muskies. It's just basically right here your swim bait.
Oh yeah.
You can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong
Hey,
with
Brenton. Yeah, well, what I used to do there, I was pretty boring when I fished there. I would have 3 crankbait rods, and one of them would be a size 5 Shad Rap colored perch, and I'd have a couple other colored crankbaits, and I'd just beat the windy shorelines.
Yep, there you go.
Cast.
Yep, there you go. That's a hot one. Spring. Number 3, Arishi, and as you go deeper, go number 5. But also remember, don't just go and beat the shoreline, because it's all riprap.
Yes.
It all kind of looks the same from the naked eye, and everybody's fishing that. But also remember, use your electronics. I got side imaging, down imaging. Look for those irregularities where the rock juts out more to the mud line. Focus on that. Also humps and the saddles. So focus on that too, using your electronics and fishing that. Just don't look at the shoreline and say, oh, that looks fishy, I'm going to go and fish it. Because if anybody who's been out to Heideke knows that entire shoreline, other than, the south shoreline, the natural shoreline, is nothing but riprap. So again, that play your odds of catching more fish by watching those winds the prior days before you're going out, and hitting those shorelines first and foremost.
Now that's where I caught the bigger walleyes, was those mid-lake humps, trolling spinner rigs.
Yep, and that's the thing too. If people trolling, that's a great way to map the lake too.
Yes,
because you're going to find a lot of those humps and saddles that are going to hold fish that you can your waypoints and mark those and be able to go back to. That's how you kind of learn that lake. Yeah, you can look at the map and everything, but as anybody knows, there's no 60-foot hole there at Heideke. Okay, I think the most it goes down to at this point, I think close to about 28 feet of water.
We have a question from the audience. It's from Brenton Zitka. He said, "Do you use many square bills?"
Oh yeah, actually, the one I've got right here that I just showed, that's a square bill.
Okay.
Absolutely. Especially if you're going and fishing, riprap, you absolutely want to use a square bill, because it'll get out of the rocks. If you get hung up, all you got to do is back off on it, snap the line, it'll come right out.
I love that about square bills.
Yep. And also, too, the thing is, when it ricochets off those rocks, that's when a lot of times you're getting your reaction strikes, because it changes direction, and the square bill allows for that.
Well, we know, if you want to catch bass on those things, you have to crash it right into things.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Don't be afraid to get it hung up.
My good friend Cajun Rob Welsh, he's the co-host of Co-Angler Corner podcast, said, "Good evening, gents. Thump 'em Soft Plastic says, try the good old-fashioned jig trolling." Now that is old school. I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about that. I said spinner rigs. Jig trolling is even older than spinner rigs.
Yeah, but you know what? It's still effective. Not only on that lake, but where else, Jay? The Illinois River.
Yes. Oh, I've done a lot of jig trolling into the Illinois River, but It's like this.
Yep. Sometimes people are looking at you like, "Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing there?" Keep that line vertical.
Yeah. Brenton said that leech and bobber was awesome when the walleyes are even smallmouth are suspended over in deeper water. And I agree with you. I always forget about leech and bobber.
Oh yeah.
Fishing. I get too fancy.
That's back in the day when Heideke was a cooler, that was a deadly presentation. Just basically letting that float right around, drift with right where the mud line is at, between that rock and that soft bottom. Drift that leech, and you basically catch everything under the sun.
Oh yeah. Eric Evans says, "Is that red craw color as good in the fall as it is in the spring?"
Actually, you know what? In the fall, I usually don't fish anything red or fire tiger, red, fire craw or anything. Springtime, it's dynamite. That's all I'm basically fishing with. But in the fall, I'll switch to more natural looking baits, minnow baits, colors like to that nature, silvers, some blues. But I typically don't fish, red, fire craw baits in the fall.
Rob Welsh wants to know, what's the furthest south you ever caught a walleye?
The further south I've ever, probably Kincaid.
Okay. Look, he lives in Tennessee. He's caught them in Knoxville at Douglas Lake.
Okay.
Thump 'em Soft Plastic says, "You mentioned that up here and no one will know what you're talking about." Eric Evans says, "Do you call that color square bill Husker red?"
I like that, actually. It's pretty, you know what? It's got a little hue there on the bottom, but I like that, actually.
Husker red. Good call, Eric. Good call. Good call.
Good call.
So you like to use square bills. You use the, first of all, let's back up a little bit. Heideke Lake. It's over by, oh shoot, man, I haven't lived there in so long. Morris, Illinois.
Yep.
And when does it open?
April 1st.
And when does it close?
It closes, it's based on duck season. I believe that is the northern zone. I could be wrong on that, but I think a week before the northern zone duck season.
Okay, that's a shame, man. I would love to be able to target that lake, and I'm sure you, as an ice fisherman, would like to be able to target it too. Now that it's actually going to get ice.
I would love to ice fish that lake someday. I really would, especially for the walleye.
Yes. Also, I don't know why they don't allow you to fish the entire lake anymore, because it hasn't been they dismantled that like in what year 2000? They dismantled the power plant in 2000?
It hasn't been a cooler for quite some time now. That plant was disassembled, and there's still a buoy line there.
Yes.
Well, but do they enforce it? You know what? Hard to say.
No, they did not dismantle it in 2000, because in 2001, after September 11th, they had guys out there who would run me off if I got too close to the buoy line.
Yeah. Yep,
and
they would do that back in the day.
And on the South Pool, that buoy line, the north side of the South Pool, that buoy line, that was the hottest place to fish, particularly if the wind is just right.
Yeah.
Brenton Zitka just said, "What is your go-to bait this time of the year for smallmouth?"
Well, I would say, first light and last light, a popper, hit that top water. And in between there, right now, what's going on, they are just gorging on crawfish. So anything craw imitators, max scent, sugar craw, a TRD, like I said earlier in the show, works too. Anything craw imitator, that's the hot bait right now, because that's what those fish are eating. Everyone that I catch usually has a craw in their mouth, or they're spitting it out, or, as I said earlier, coming out their backside.
Have you ever used a Ned rig on Heideke? Casting at the rock
all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll usually, first thing, I'll get out there, at 6, do the top water, do my milk run as far as the top water goes, and it can last, depending on half hour. Low light conditions are better. Cloudier days out at Heideke are obviously better. And then once, I'll switch off the crankbaits and things. And as the morning wears on, I'll start going plastics. And, a TRD is an awesome bait out there. You basically can catch anything. I've caught smallmouth, largemouth, walleye, hybrids on that. Just basically hopping it off the bottom, looking for those humps and saddles, those irregularities in, the bottom, especially from the, off the dike. And you can pretty much catch anything out there with that bait.
That's what I liked. I was just starting to learn that lake when I moved away in 2011. I'd fished it for a decade, but you know how that is when you really start to feel like you're getting in tune with the lake. I'm sure you do.
Yep. Oh yeah. So just when you think you figured it out, it changes.
Okay, Thump 'em. You said if you're a walleye guy, please check us out. Being from Michigan, that's our top selling bait style. What are you talking about, Thump 'em? Let us know. Okay. Eric Evans says, what's your favorite fall lures for largemouth and favorite Illinois places to fish them?
Oh, I tell you what, for largemouth, I absolutely love the strip pits. South of me, that's all I've got out my way is strip pits. And right now, I'm using Senko's rig, with the Boron EWG by Vector Hooks. I'm using that, through the weeds. I'm also using a Baby 1 minus right now. That's really right now with the water shooting up, because we had water temps drop to in the low 70s before the heat wave, and now they're back up into the 80s again. So the Baby 1 minus, working it right over the weed tops has been an absolute hot bait right now this past week.
I bet. I love that Baby 1 minus in the early spring, right before when the bass are up cruising the shallow water, looking for spawning areas.
Yep.
On Shabanaw, the Baby 1 minus, I get back there behind the trees and throw the Baby 1 minus. You don't see, I never saw any fish, but boy, did we catch them. Sometimes they were big too. The big girls come up after the boys are up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And two, if conditions are right, don't forget about the frog.
Yes.
Don't forget about that.
So strip pits, where are these strip pits located?
So basically, if you know where I-80 is at, south of I-80, Wilmington area.
Wilmington, okay.
Everybody knows where Braidwood is at. There's a lot of strip pits throughout there. Coal City as well.
Okay, Coal City. Lots, yes. Are any of these public?
Few are, but a lot of them are private too. It's a little combination of both where I have access.
Okay, Thumbum said that his split tail minnows, lots of people know about them and know them as a fork tail.
Okay, yeah.
They use them for casting, jigging, drop shot, lots of technique. Man, split tail minnows.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with those.
Split tail minnows. Thumbum, I use those for freaking speckled trout down here. I love those.
What's a hot bait right now is the Mickey rig. A very light jig head with the split tail is an awesome bait when things get tough. That bait will pull in fish when conditions are right and that bite is tough to get those fish to bite.
Eric Evans asked, do people fish the Mississippi River through Illinois the same way they love it in Wisconsin?
I could imagine they would. I don't see why not. But I know that the river. I haven't fished the Mississippi, in Illinois at all. But I know it's a little different as far as up in Wisconsin as far as the pools go.
Yeah,
but I know a lot of people fish for catfish on the Mississippi.
In La Crosse, I fished a lot of smallmouth. I fished a lot of tournaments there for bass, I caught a lot of smallmouth and largemouth up around La Crosse. But I have never, actually around Savannah, some of the backwaters people fish for largemouth bass, but mostly in Illinois, I fish for walleyes in the Mississippi. Okay. Richard Ziegler just said that guys use the Baby 1 minus for redfish in Louisiana. I have never caught one on those. On Baby 1 minuses, but when you're fishing, when the redfish are in like 8 inches of water, I could imagine using a Baby 1 minus. That's cool. Wow, that would just call them in.
Yeah, you figure I don't see why that wouldn't work down there. With your water temps and that wider wobble of that bait, that those things would absolutely slam that bait.
Oh, anything, man. The specks, the redfish. Sharks are in right now. It's kind of a pain, when you're surf fishing and you're catching sharks.
We wouldn't know about that in Illinois.
No, Thumpum said that they
We have
carry
our
a
own
one.
toothy critters, though. Don't worry.
Imagine a split tail that's 1.5 inches, man. That's what Thumpum said he carries. 1.5 inches, 3 inches, 3.75 inches, and now a 5 inch. Wow.
Nice.
That's
And
some good
that's
stuff
cool
right
because
there.
you cover the spectrum.
Yeah, a 5 inch, man. You could just.
Finesse.
Oh yeah.
From finesse to bigger bait, especially in the fall.
Just throw that without any weight.
With those sizes.
Throw that without any weight and watch your line go.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. We know that would work. Okay, potential for a trophy-sized largemouth bass in northern Illinois. What lake? Well, what body of water?
Ooh, that's a tough question there. Boy. I mean, I've seen some big, largemouth caught up at the chain.
Yes.
And everything in between, the strip pits where I fish, I've got plenty of, 5 pound plus largemouth, there. I've actually gotten some decent ones out of Heideke, actually. I've gotten ones close, about 4.5 pounds, and most people don't think of, Heideke as a largemouth, fishery. But here's the thing. The makeup, of the lake, since it's no longer been a cooler, there's more weeds now.
Yes.
If you remember, Jay, the the weeds were on the natural shoreline. Well, that's not the case anymore. You've got the flats that go out, in 4 to feet of water from the center dike. You've got weed lines now, and that's the thing because the water is cleared up. Okay. And you've got, the weed growth now happening. So it's, the fisheries changed dramatically. And the one thing when I'm doing my seminars at the clubs and the shows, and I'm talking about Heideke, one, I think it's better than it ever has. I think it's actually better than when it was a cooler. Now that it's more of a natural lake. Yes, it may take a little bit in the springtime because it doesn't open, it opens up April 1st and the water, temps are a little cool. You want to try to hit that magic number of like 55 degrees before that lake really takes off. But again, the quality of the fish from the bass, the walleye, the hybrids, it's a lot better than what it was when it was a cooler. I've gotten plenty of 25, 26 inch walleye there this season. My buddy caught one over 27. And I also, telling everybody the next state record muskie is in that lake right now.
Oh, I believe that.
No, it actually, 2 years ago, the DNR, they netted it back. It was along the south shoreline in April, and it was the next state record. So those big ones they're there.
My favorite big bass lake in Illinois is Hennepin Hopper Reservoir. Actually, it's Marshland Project. It's not a reservoir. I caught my personal best, still, even now that I live down in Louisiana, I caught a 7-pound largemouth bass there.
All right.
It was 7 and some change.
Yeah.
And I caught several 5s.
Yeah.
But there's only one place.
Downstate, south of Peoria, the Canton area, Savannah area, and all those, there's a lot of lakes there that hold, quality largemouth bass.
But don't forget about Hennepin Hopper, guys. But you remember, you have to pay them a fee to fish there, and you cannot have a gasoline powered motor attached to your boat. But you just take off down south, go to the canal in the back. It's full of bass. They're not easy to catch. It's kind of like fishing a southern lake. It's not easy. Okay, one last question. We have time for one more question, and that's Eric Evans. He said, is there an ice fishing tournament scene in Illinois? And who runs it if there is?
There's a lot of, sponsored, tournaments on the chain of lakes during, usually in February. But again, you know what? Our ice season in Illinois has not been typical the past few years. Last year, I basically fished 14 straight days nonstop. before we lost the ice. So it was basically when it got there and it came quick, I got on it, hit it hard, running gun until it came off. I know, a lot of my buddies up in northern Wisconsin, in Minnesota didn't have a good ice season. But a lot of the tournaments, at least in Illinois, haven't happened because we haven't had safe ice.
That's why Todd takes off and goes to Saskatchewan.
Yep, that he does. Yep.
He's a good man. Todd is a good man.
Yep. I
Thumpum Soft Plastics says that the ice season's been bad up here. Only 2 weeks of safe ice, and that guy lives like up up there by Lake Huron. So that's a lot further north than you. So everybody's having a tough. Well, you just said that in Wisconsin they had a tough time too.
Yeah. We're all hoping for a better ice season this year. Keeping the fingers crossed, everybody.
I pray for you guys, man, because I've endured weeks of 100+ degree heat here, so I'm tired of it. I'm looking forward to a nice down here. If it gets down to 50 degrees, I'm happy. I'm happy.
If it gets down to 50 degrees, you're probably wearing your parka.
No, remember where I'm from. Actually, I moved to Alaska from Illinois, and I was happy up in Alaska, man. That was nice. I didn't sweat once. Eric Evans said, "Thank you, Husker." He appreciates all the answers and the tips.
No problem, Eric.
And Thumpum said he's in the thumb. He's in the thumb reason, and his fingers are crossed. Even the bait shops are feeling the sting of, the wimpy winters. But hey, I'll call you Husker for the first time. Hey, Husker, do you have any shout outs you'd like to do?
Oh, I've got plenty. If I can remember to make sure I get them all in. I want to thank, Clam Outdoors, Wiggle Your Worm Fishing, Vector Hooks, Whack 'em and Stack 'em Baits, BPF Lures, trying to make sure I got them all in there. IJO Plastics, Ice Junkies Outdoors, thank, all of those, companies. They're great. I love pro staffing for them all.
And I think you have a fins.
Oh, and yes, and I want to save that one for last because we are talking about a little bit of ice fishing, and I was going to leave that one for last. I pro staff for Fins Braid, Ice Tamer braid. If you haven't tried it, make sure you go out and get it for this season because I guarantee you are not going to be disappointed because it doesn't freeze up. It doesn't absorb water. It's a great line. And also I use a lot of, the product during, the open water season as well. Wind Tamer, Spin 5. It's a great braid. And I swear by this, that's without question the best braid that I've ever used.
So that's the Fins brand, Wind Tamer.
Yes.
Well, that's wind knots are an issue.
Yeah, well, not with this line, and it's great for those presentation when you're downsizing, those finesse presentations. Clear water, you got to get longer casts. That's the line to go with. One
last question. Richard Ziegler, he lives down here by me, great red fisherman. He said, have you ever used Rebel lures?
Oh, I still got plenty in my tackle box, in my boxes. Still have them.
You were talking about the Pop R.
Not only that, that's probably my favorite. In fact, one of my rods still has that on there right now, actually.
The Pop R is a classic. That was around when you and I were boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Rebel Pop R. I think that was
plenty of lures, from back. I mean, my very first tackle box, guess what? Those were the lures that were in there.
The Rebel Pop R, the Jitterbug, the Mepps Comet spinner, the Reps Angula spinners. If I went up north, I had to have lots of Angulas. So I, size, just go up and up and up and, size 3, size 4s for Northern Pike. Man, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, you know what? The MEPS on the Kankakee come fall is going to be an awesome bait too.
Yeah, with the
Especially
foxtail.
if we start losing that eelgrass that's in the river, that is going to be another exceptional bait to use come fall.
Yeah, the MEPS, Agila, Agila.
Number 5.
Number 5, that's big.
Yeah, big. Go big or go home.
We used to use the number 5s for muskies. I don't think we ever caught any, but
yeah,
I was just a boy, I don't think Dad wanted me to catch muskies. Yeah, cast over there. Get you a muskie.
Yeah, away from there.
Okay, man. So have you completely finished with your? Oh, here's another one. MEPS XD Gold Yellow number 3 is killer on smallies in the river.
Yeah. You know what? Which one's my favorite? Is pink and white. Pink and white.
Pink. I love pink.
Yep.
Like the Cubby Mini might color pink. I caught more crappies in Chabonal on that. Well, actually on Fathead Minnows, I caught more crappies, but I'm sure you're familiar with the Cubby Mini Mite. I know you are.
Oh, absolutely. If you remember back in the day, the Tinley Park shows,
yes.
That's all they were giving away to kids. So those little Cubby Mini Mites.
That was Norm who did that.
Yeah.
Norm would give those away to kids, and why don't you give any of those to me? Because I give plenty of them to you. Okay, you're right. It's never enough, it's enough. Those were fun times, man. Those were fun times. Chauncey was running around, man. Jim Copshaw was there, and
Yep.
Who was that? Who was Mick Phil?
Yeah.
Mick Phil was telling us, I came to America and taught you guys how to fish. I fished just fine before you came around. I told him that one time. No, you didn't. You used bobbers. I still do.
Yeah. You toned it in a little better. That's all.
It was so much fun getting him going at the sports shows. Oh my gosh. I sat in a booth with him right next to me, and Denny sat right next to him at a sports show in Rockford, Illinois. And I antagonized him. You got any more of those bobbers, man? Oh my goodness!
When he gets his booth assignment, don't put me near Jay.
Yeah. Something said, "Good watching. Another awesome live. Got to get ready for the Woods and Water show." Thank you, Thumpum. You know what, Ken? I had a great time talking to you, man.
Same
last
here,
time. Last time the podcast, technical difficulties wouldn't really allow us to do this, but man, I got to have you on again. I had a great time. Eric, man,
here,
all you guys, man, thank you so much. And thank you, Ken, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you, all you guys who contributed to the show. I love it when you guys ask questions. It just makes the show so much more special. Ken,
agree.
If I get up there, I'm going to want to fish with you, man. And I do get up there.
Where I'm at, Jay.
Yes, I have 2 kids.
Back to your roots, man.
Yes, please do. I have 2 kids who live in the city of Chicago, so I get up there.
Yep, come on
I get up there. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to end the show with that. You know what, guys? It's Wednesday. I know it's 105 degrees outside, but make your plans. Get out there fishing. You only get to do this once. And with that, I'm going to end the show. Ken, please stick around for a couple minutes after the show ends.
All right.
Good
Everybody
night,
have a
guys.
good evening.